At its heart,
Neath the silence.
Hi, boys.
this is a community. One that agrees about more than it doesn't.
Put it on your Kwanzaa tree.
No such thing.
But the wind
You up for these?
Like hard work,
a crying,
love,
and the moonlight.
Boop boop potty.
Being a good neighbor.
I know it's easy to get caught up in the fear of the situation. I know it's easy to point the finger and fear each other. But can we all just take a breath? Please hold off on being enemies. All I'm asking is that you be a good neighbor. Like Mr. Rogers.
With guns, though.
With guns, yes.
Hi, my name is Gil Robertson, president of the African American Film Critics Association. Today, we're really excited to be talking to actor Sam Richardson, the star of the upcoming movie, Werewolves Within. We're going to kick things off by introducing you to the AAFCA members who are taking this call today, beginning with our lovely facilitator, Katia Woods in Philadelphia, Karen Lin-Wan in Charlottesville, Virginia, DJ Chris Stiles in the great state of Buckeye State of Ohio, Brandon Collins in New York, Albert McGee in South Florida, and our two Canadians, Carolyn Morissette in Toronto, and the lovely Carolyn Hines in Toronto. I'm gonna let you guys do what you do so well, and I'll see you on the other side.
How you doing, Sam? Brandon Collins lives in New York, but originally from Detroit, Michigan. It's great to get to talk to you. What was it like being part of a movie that's like horror, murder, mystery, comedy? Like, what was the process of like finding that balance on set?
It was definitely unique. I love genre, so I'm all about, you know, superheroes and secret agents and horror and werewolves. So like this was a chance for me to get to like live in that world. But like my background being comedy, I feel like I feel like my natural inclination is to imbue some sort of comedy to it. So to get to do a werewolf movie where comedy is a like pillar of it, I got to have a lot of fun with sort of the timing of it, and also like I guess also with it being a horror comedy and not just a horror, it didn't feel out of place to kind of let some of the comedic moments kind of just sit and not feel like I'm playing the comedy, because like the comedy expectation is already there, you know.
Thank you. Love Detroiters. Please bring it back if you can.
Yeah, I would love to. Thank you.
Hi, Carolyn for Here's What Happened podcast and Carolyn Talks. So this film is actually really funny. The dialogue to me, I love like the quick action dialogue that happens. So can you tell me a little bit about how much of it was improv and how much of it is scripted? Because there's some lines like where one of the characters says, an unknown known and a known unknown. That one had me giggling for like 5 minutes. So could you just tell me about like building the script and like with going throughout like development and like just what was on the fly?
Yeah. Well, the script was originally written by Mishna Wolf, who wrote the movie based on a video game, a VR game, and the script itself is full of like most of these things are scripted, you know. And then Josh Rubin, who's the director, also did a pass on it and like kind of imbued some of his comedy into it. And then everybody in that cast is pretty talented improviser and actor and comedian. So on set, as we would go, you know, it was sometimes a matter of finding like what worked a little bit better or what felt more natural. So for the most part, a lot of that was as scripted, with a few things here and there where like the moment kind of called for something else, or there's like a looseness to if somebody else added something it was received very well and easily. And then like if it works, then we keep doing it.
Hi there, Carolyn Morissette for View from the Dark. When I was watching Werewolves Within, I kept thinking of a couple of main Black characters. One was, from Night of the Living Dead. And then also, this is a deep cut though, The Beast Must Die, Calvin Lockhart. So they just kept kind of coming back and forth for me. And I just thought like that, Finn was such a great character because Black characters are usually a barometer for when things go wrong, but then you were able to add that comedy. So can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yes. Now you usually, right, the barometer for when things go wrong, as in like, that they die, and that's how you're like, oh, this is serious, so I think part of that, I think maybe you as an audience, that's not going to happen because like I'm the very first person who you see, or very early on, unless it's like a Game of Thronesy kind of thing where you're following this guy. Well, who knows? But who knows? I guess if you are watching this and you haven't seen the movie, yeah. But I think it was fun to kind of play with that expectation and play and sort of not play what I was also get to be a producer on this movie. I was a producer, so I had a lot of say in like what felt right for Finn, or what felt would be like too cliche, or Black characters written by white people in movies is always like a guess. They're always taking a guess. So I felt like a freedom to kind of say what I felt he would say or what he would do. I think that was like I think that was beneficial to the movie. And sort of the expectations that maybe an audience usually has of a Black character in a horror movie, we get to play against that, and he's the focus for most of it. And he's not just scared and running; he's addressing it, and he's actively trying to get to the bottom of it.
Yeah, he was definitely take charge, which I love. That really turned the trope on the head, on its head. So yeah, thank you so much.
Of course.
Hello, Sam. I'm Al McGee from YETicket.com. I'm from Chicago, but I got cousins in Detroit. I love Detroit. And I'm so glad to see you, brother, from Detroit, being successful.
Thank you.
And also to the other Detroiter too. But anyway, my question is this. Now, when Commissioner Wolf wrote the script, he wanted to have a diverse cast, but really you're the only diverse person that I see in this cast. And it's a lily white environment, and you're the only Black person there. And also, when you got cast, how did you negotiate and say, I want to be a producer to have some say so with this film?
Well, there is a Hispanic gentleman in the movie as well. But like also it takes place in like a Vermont town, in a very what would be maybe typically a very white area. So like even the idea of him coming in is sort of he's fish out of water in a way, but that's not like heavily, focused on. So it's like a sort of level there of like, is he uncomfortable because of his environment? I don't think we played into that too much, but I think the diversity being like, there's a lot of white people, but I think the environment there being like small town Vermont, like small ski town Vermont, and there being so few characters in the movie, I think it helps to, I don't even want to use the word help, but it's kind of added a layer of him being different, if that makes sense. And then as far as the producer goes, when I was approached with the movie, they sent me the script. And I think part of it was to have my input as a producer, because I was a very active producer in it. Sometimes, people are producers on movies and they are just in name, they're like, oh, give me producer credit, that. But I want to be a producer so that I could not feel any sort of apprehension about putting my input on the script and the edits and the scenes themselves. That answers your question.
Well, yeah, kind of, but do you sit in the editing room and things like that when they put this film together?
Well, the editing happened. We finished this movie 1 week before everything shut down for COVID. So I got back to LA. We shot this in the Catskills in upstate New York, and then we finished it. I got home to California, and then everything shut down a week later. And so I wasn't in the edit every day, but they would send me the cuts, and I would look at them, and I would say, all right, well, this is great, but the timing on this needs to be here, the timing of that needs to be there, or like this doesn't work, or I feel this is confusing to me, or I think this would be confusing to an audience because we're tracking this moment here, but I think that needs to be closer in so that you don't see this moment coming. So I was able to have a lot of input, which as an actor you don't usually, they won't send you those things, like unless you're a producer, then you get to like see those.
Well, thank you very much, and much success with the film. It's funny, I cracked up.
Oh, wonderful, thank you so much.
Hi, Sam. This is Karan from Karanism.com. I was so excitedly surprised because I really needed this humor in this moment. And I just got to be honest with you. I am such a nerd. And you spoke to the nerd in me and the gentle giant in your strength, in your big boy safety, in your rescue, in your humor. I needed that. But I wanted to ask you, how does this shift the narrative and the win for us nerds? Because you saved the day as a nerd, as the big boy, as the black boy, as the dark-skinned black boy, as the man in a space where you were the only one who existed. So please tell me how this shifted the narrative in this space where you were the only one who existed.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I'm trying to not cheese so much while I answer this question. I appreciate it. I think, what this does to me for the narrative and like sort of like how the character exists and moves through this movie as moving myself, is that I feel that a lot of times in movies, especially movies where it's like you said before, like there's only one black character, and if it's a man, he's got to be six-pack, Denzel, and like that's it, so there's no room for just a regular-ish guy or a nerd. He can't be a nerd because a nerd is its own character, or like a big guy is its own character. But like as people, we are many things. We are skinny, fat, nerd, jock, bully thing. So I think I was able to make him a rounded, real character in this world that usually we don't get to, where we are other in. I think this one, I was able to like, and the character Finn was able to be the eyes of the audience for most of the thing, and I think that kind of what's the word I'm looking for. I think it makes it not other, but it makes it the one. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does. And thank you so much for making us nerds normal. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
Hi, Sam. This is DJ Chris Dowles, Cleveland, Ohio, WOVU 95.9 FM. How you doing?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
Hey, great movie, great movie. I enjoyed it. One of my questions, I've been watching your career for a pretty long time. Your last film I watched, I think it was called Hooking Up. I've watched. Yeah, a funny flick. It came out of nowhere. During COVID, I watched it.
Yeah.
You've been on several movies, Horrible Bosses, The Ghostbusters. Like, what was the vibe on this set of this movie when you start coming to your leading roles? Now your roles coming from supporting actor into the leading actors in your last several movies. Like, what was the vibe being a comedic actor on there, being the lead and setting the tone on set?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's certainly an adjustment, you know, because like when you come in on like when I coming in on like Mike and Dave Need Wedding Dates or Horrible Bosses, my job is to come and play a specific role, and I get to like be as silly as I want to be, or I get to be as mean as I want to be, because like it doesn't rest on my shoulders. But with being a lead in like a comedy, you are the fulcrum that so many other comedic energies have to play off of, and you have to be the tie that binds them as well. So like with this character who's insane, you have to be like the straight man but then this character who's boring, you have to kind of be like, oh, there's so many energies that you are the center of. That was a really fun, and in more leading roles, I'm learning this more and more of how to sort of like manage those energies and also take the macro view of like an entire script, because then it's my, you know, like if you're playing like even from being on Veep when I'm Richard Splett, I really had to worry about what my scenes were, because if it didn't fit, then they edit it out. If it does, you know, they grow it out, whatever. But they can't just edit the star of the movie out. So like I have to make sure I make all those choices in time so that it all is cohesive. And it's an interesting shift, and it's a fun exercise. And I hope to get to do it more, and I appreciate getting to do it on this.
You will. Thank you. I appreciate you, and keep doing your thing.
Thank you so much.
Katya Woods, Cup of Social. Sam, I love this movie. And what I love most about it is your guy is like an anti-hero, because he really didn't sign up for all of this. He just came to be on his post and do his job. Talk about how no matter how kooky it got, he still was very optimistic. He's giving pep talks when you're just like, dude, it is not going well. It's just going south. Talk a little bit about what it was like for you to, you know, properly play against self and constantly be optimistic no matter what is happening.
Well, I think is an interesting like distinction for this character is that he's not a police officer. He's a park ranger, you know, so he's come to this place just to make sure that kids aren't throwing trash in the, you know, on hikes and stuff, and to like make sure that people put out their fires. So like now in this thing, he's thrust into this true social dynamic where he is like an authority. So he's not a person who seeks power, but it's put upon him, because I feel like police and these things are people who want to be able to tell people what to do. You know, but that's not what he like specifically as a park ranger. All he wants to do is preserve nature. So like, and he's in this world where he's in charge of people, and the threat maybe is nature itself. So the positivity. So I think that was an interesting dynamic and an interesting like level that it comes from this. But also, sort of to keep optimistic, I think that also comes from him trying to convince himself that things are fine, because, you know, like he has this responsibility, because his energy isn't to control people, it's to have everybody flourish. Like, you know, he talks about like, I'm nice, like this is nice, like people, we need to like be neighborly, we need a community, because I feel that that's like his first instinct is to form a community rather than tell people what to do.
Absolutely, great job.
Oh, thank you.
So, Sam, I've had the pleasure of working with your director, Josh Rubin, on some past things with College Humor and stuff. So I know he's an incredible collaborator, but I would love to hear you speak about your experience working with Josh. And is there a director right now that you would really, really like to work with in the future?
Well, Josh was truly a brilliant collaborator, and he's so funny. So when you have a director, that I always feel every director should take an acting class, because then they know what an actor needs from a scene, you know, so you're not just there telling like, do this, do this, do this. You know how to communicate because you know what it's like to receive criticism and feedback on on how you're performing. And Josh was so good with that. He was so patient, and he would give notes that were like, I guess these were like lived. Like like you could tell it wasn't him sitting on an ivory tower being like, do this, now make that happen, make it work. You know, it was like maybe we can try this, or like what I'm feeling is this. And it was really a positive thing. And he's just so excited he's so positive and so excited. It was a great energy to get to work with. And a director who I would really love to work with. I mean, they're I mean, I'd love to work with the Russo brothers, because I'm a big nerd, and I want to be in that world. And Antoine Fuqua would be an amazing person to work with.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Hi, Sam. So, the thing with the monsters genre that I love is that directors and writers aren't afraid to like borrow from each other and borrow influence from each other, and you know that they're taking influences from other films. And what I noticed about there's some pretty obvious like references to films like Get Out, and even like I think your character is kind of similar to like Dudley Do Right. And then if you're like a kid in the 90s, there's a show called Werewolf that was the actual title. And I wanted to ask you if there were any references that you may not have picked up during like script reading, but like you saw during filming or even during post production. You were saying, "Oh wait, I didn't see that before, but I totally get this now."
There was some truly like after seeing the movie like assembled, I didn't make this connection, but then I was watching, I was like, oh, there's a movie I used to watch growing up, Clue, where it's like a very farcical kind of like entrances, exits, like big characters on that. And there's so much it feels like is an homage and borrowed from that movie that I really appreciate and love, and like, you know, little pieces here and there, and like other little horror moments. There's moments that are directly borrowed and appreciatively so from like Shaun of the Dead and like Hot Fuzz. Why I don't know why I'm blank. Edgar Wright, like a lot of Edgar Wright-ish moments in this movie as well.
Yeah, I definitely see the Hot Fuzz moments with some particular gun scenes, and then there's also like Cabin in the Woods, I think, and like the film does. I think you guys did a fantastic job with making all of the characters archetypes of like different horror characters, but then they're still completely different because each person doesn't turn out to be who you expect them to be. So again, that's like one of the best parts I think about the film.
Talking about other films, I saw Scare Me, Josh Rubin's other film, and I kind of feel like, I don't know if you feel this way, so this is what I'm going to ask you. Do you think Scare Me is kind of like a companion film to Werewolves Within? Because they're so dark, and then this is so light, and it's kind of meta. So
yeah, I think that's a good, I think they are. I think they're companion pieces, like in the Josh Rubin verse. You know, they play off of each other. There's like an energy, like a sort of a Hotter Than July meets Songs in the Key of Life. You know, like where they together they make it like it's interesting to look at them together, but individually they each say something different. You know.
Great, thank you so much.
Of course.
Hey, Sam, Al McGee here again. Now, your type of humor seems to be like a deadpan type of humor. Do you model yourself after, let's say, like someone like a Buster Keaton from silent films? And do you get many scripts where they want you to be the comedian? I know one of your films that's coming out in the future is an action film, but do you get a lot of films that say, hey, we want you to be this deadpan type of actor? And do you enjoy doing that?
I do. I enjoy doing. I feel like again, it's a sort of what the energy of the thing calls for. You know, where like in this movie, I'm very deadpan, and in Hooking Up, I'm like very like absorbing things and reacting. You know, because to me, that's what comedy or improv and comedy is. It's like absorbing and then reacting. So it's just I kind of model it after, or I at least feel heavily influenced by like Jason Bateman's sort of energy in Arrested Development, where there's all these crazy people and he's just keeping his head just above and can see these things, but he's tied to these things and he doesn't want to leave. But he is just like there present. I mean, I do love Buster Keaton, and yeah, I think so. Did I may have like lost myself in my train of thought there. Sorry.
Well, yeah, you kind of answered it that you do love that type of acting and things like that. And that deadpan type of acting. But are you a comedic actor or are you just an actor?
I mean, I feel I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a comedic actor, because like I came up studying comedy, you know, and like everything to me it filters through. Even I feel that you know one doesn't exist without the as far as like drama and comedy. They both need each other so much. Like yin and yang, you have the black side with the white dot and the white side with the black dot. No person, like even at a funeral, people are smiling and like cracking little snickers. You know what I mean? Like, and in the funniest moments, you know, like somebody can be laughing up and like angry that somebody's laughing louder than them. So there's energy. So each side needs, like, drama without at least a little bit of levity is false, and comedy without a little bit of emotional stakes is silly, you know. So I feel that I say I'm a comedic actor, but that doesn't mean that I'm a clown. That makes sense.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate you and your talent.
Oh, thank you so much.
So, Sam, you're presented as the reluctant hero. In the natural scheme of things, you are a Black dude in the wilderness.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, you in the wilderness. And he doesn't even know his own power. So what do you have to say to Black men and boys in the midst of uncertainty? Because this speaks to me, and I'm not a Black man or a Black boy, but this speaks to me, and it can communicate so much in the midst of uncertainty for Black men and boys. What does this humor, this uncertainty, this wonder, this is wonder, this film is wonder and humor and uncertainty and joy. What does this speak to you, and what do you want to say to boys and men in the midst of uncertainty?
I would say that this film and this character exists in this world under his own term. Like he's a Black man who is a forest ranger who loves the wilderness, you know. And I feel that's typically is atypical, you know. But we exist. They exist. There are Black campers. There are Black mountain climbers. There are Black surfers. You know, the fact that they aren't depicted doesn't mean that they don't exist. So yes. Any person with, you know, across the world of Blackness and across the spectrum of Blackness, that everyone is valid and is a real person, and that does not take away from that. You can be a comic book nerd, you can be a rapper, you can be an athlete, you can be, you know, you could be a middle school teacher, you can be a kung fu teacher. You know, but that we are more than what is usually depicted and what we only get to see, and that there's validity to all of these energies. So be what you want to be and who you want to be, and it is valid.
Thank you so very much. Thank you so much.
Hi, Sam. Katya Woods again. One of the other parts of the movie that I really enjoy is when he's taken on a tour, more or less given the tidbits about everyone. And I am just dying to know, how did you keep a straight face? Because the stuff that's going on is pretty out of the box, you know, even for your character who's such a nice guy. But, you know, you're just like thinking, where have I landed and how did I end up here? Because it's not like verbally and visually, you're just going, huh? So how did you keep a straight face during those scenes?
It was very difficult. And luckily we've got a lot of takes, and a lot of them don't have me in them because like I'm there on the other side of the camera, like laughing, literally laughing. You know, a benefit of kind of getting to work with a lot of comedians and getting to play off of them is that you, in the moment, you are able to, sometimes you're able to kind of forget that what's happening is funny, and then you are, that you really are like offended, or you really are shocked, you know? Like you see, there's like the one part where where the character has like the wrench, and she's like, that thing. Like the first 2 times, I couldn't help but laugh. I was like, that's so funny, you know. So, but then you know, when you do it on her single coverage, then it doesn't matter if I laugh. But then when it's like me reacting in like a 2-shot or whatever, yeah. I kind of then have to just make sure it's real. Like I have to be like, okay, what if I saw, if I was at Jiffy Lube and the mechanic was like, I'd be like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? I might laugh about it later, but definitely then I'd be shocked. So I think like kind of was trying to be like as real in that moment. But that's not to say that there aren't so many takes of me just like laughing fully.
No, that was just, outstanding to you, because I was just like, how is he not laughing? But no, again, really enjoyed the film.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much, Sam, for your time today. Wonderful movie. We are certainly looking forward to supporting you as you could continue your ascent, you know, in movies, TV, everything that you desire. On behalf of the world's largest group of Black film critics, thank you for watching and have a great day.
Thank you so much.